My name is Benjamin Gent, and I'm a global cloud architect at Tribune Media. Today I'll be discussing VSAN. It's not a storage array, which is a very valuable feature of it, and its maintenance structure isn't paid like a traditional storage array. For me, that's the biggest leap with it is there's a compelling cost reason to step into it. Don't have to make a snap decision and get away from where I am. I can keep what I have and dip my toe in VSAN without risking an all or nothing decision. So with a traditional storage array, you pay maintenance based on the purchase price for the array plus any software you bought with it. So that residual number is high. So if you paid $1 million for the machine, you may pay $200,000 for maintenance at some point in time. With VSAN, I'm paying server-based maintenance, and that's a much lower number. VSAN is really simple to manage. It's part of the GUI, it's part of the ecosystem, so it looks and feels like the rest of VMware. So a VMware engineer or VMware operations guy is going to be able to manage and provision storage within that environment without having to touch an array, which is generally higher profile. So it's a cost reduction through headcount. It's very stable. Once you get it built, and you take the time to build the system correctly, do your research, once it's in place, it's been very stable and it performs as it says. I'm looking at two different ways of scaling that system. One is for speed and one is for mass. It scales into mass based on what size of disk you choose, and it scales into speed based on solid state drive size. Both of those are two different avenues that work well for us. The vSAN manageability is much easier because it's in and is part of the vSphere world. So it looks and feels like any other object that people are used to seeing metrics on. There have been great improvements in management in 6.5.5. There's a little bit of lack of information. Than the newer system, there's a lot more data about what's going on in that system in the GUI, easily consumable. I haven't had a technical support case open, but we do look at the forums and try to avoid issues and problems based on what's in a publicly available space, which has always been something VMware's done really well, which is making issues public so we can avoid them. The initial implementation was complex, and it's basically trying to coordinate hardware vendors and a new product that has fairly stringent requirements on what needs to be in a system. So we use that as an opportunity to find a cheaper white box solution and build it ourselves. So after a while of paying people to do it incorrectly, we're doing it ourselves and saving a bunch of money with implementing it correctly. The features I'd like to see in future releases of VSAN are around backup and recovery. So there's a great way to replicate data now, but I'd like to see them focus on making recovery from snapshots offsite part of the core product. We chose it from a cost perspective. So in media, we're always looking to save money. It's a publicly traded company, so money I give back is smiled on. So we saw a way not to pay maintenance for expensive systems and to run it in a system that performs on parallel with what we already own. The top criteria we looked at when considering VSAN was performance and cost. So we wanted to make sure that we could deliver the performance that people are used to and use a system that costs less than a traditional array model. We did not look at other vendors because there really isn't another vendor that's doing this. There are people who are close, but with a traditional hyper-converged box, there's a bunch of things that I don't need. With VSAN, I have the technical backing from VMware to backstop the product, and it's doing what I need and no more. So there's a cost savings for not buying features, compute, that I don't need. I would certainly give it an 8, and I would split it into two parts. The initial configuration of VSAN, once the system's in place, it manages and runs without much attention. And that's where it's really shining at the moment, is once it's in production, it doesn't require a lot of care and feeding. My recommendation is make sure you've got a hardware vendor who's promising you that this equipment that you get is on the HCL. So the compatibility list of what VMware supports in VSAN is important to having a successful deployment. Taking the time to do that and install and build the system correctly first will give you years of good results. Not doing that is a headache. When looking at any new technology, having peer review and having information available about what it's doing, how many people have adopted it, and whether or not it's a good technology is critically important. It's good to be on the edge, but you don't want to be the first guy to take the blind leap. So having that out there, having the forums available has been very important.